The president's tweet. He just tweeted, and this is actually significant, Patrick, just in. The big United States Supreme Court win for the border on asylum. Okay, so let me just be clear what just happened here. The Supreme Court is allowing Trump to go ahead to basically, block asylum for Central American migrants while these cases go through the court. So it's not a permanent ruling, but it is a ruling while it goes. They can't block it as lower courts tried to do. Patrick, comes as they won in that special election last night in North Carolina with Trump's backing. It was close, much closer than it should have been, but it was a win. These are two big wins for the president tonight.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, the North Carolina win, though, was interesting because it showed a real divide still between Democrats and Republicans, with President Trump having a very hard time, the Republicans still having a very hard time in cities and in suburbs, with those moderate suburban voters who reluctantly supported him in 2016. Now, Aaron, a lot of those voters have not liked the president's policies on immigration. They have not liked the photos of children in cages at the border, the family separation policy. They have not liked these. So while the president and the administration and a lot of their allies do see these things as wins, these like a Supreme Court ruling as a win, the tenor and the sense of how these policies affect real people still very much bothers people, including in key suburbs in Arizona, in Florida, in states that President Trump very much wants to win in 2020.
Rob, is this?
You shall not do this to democracy in North Carolina, Mr. Speaker. If this is the way you believe democracy works, shame on you. You will answer to the people of North Carolina.
Today, on the 8th.
If this is the way you believe democracy works, shame on you. You will answer to the people of North Carolina.
Today, on the 18th anniversary of 9/11, while the state was honoring first responders, Republicans called a deceptive surprise override of my budget veto. Today,
President Trump and other administration's officials are discussing the possibility of picking an administration official who is close, very close to the president, to fill the position of National Security Advisor. This just one day after the president unceremoniously fired his third National Security Advisor, John Bolton, by tweet after disagreements arose and then were aired in the media about a proposed meeting with the Taliban at Camp David ahead of today's 9/11 memorial events. I want to go right now to CNN's national security reporter, Kylie Atwood. So what are you learning? This is a fascinating development.
It is, because it comes just the day after John Bolton was ousted as National Security Advisor. We are learning that administration officials are considering the possibility of giving Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, an ally of the president, two hats. He would assume the role as National Security Advisor to the president, and he would remain Secretary of State. Now, this has happened before, but it was back in the 1970s when President Nixon was in office and Henry Kissinger was both Secretary of State and National Security Advisor for 2 years. Now, what's unclear right now is how seriously President Trump is considering this possibility, because he told reporters at the White House today that there were 5 people who wanted this job as National Security Advisor, and they were good and qualified people. So we don't know where he is right now, but this is something that is being discussed at the White House.
Is this more about Secretary Pompeo consolidating power within the president's inner circle, or would it be more about President Trump's views both jobs, especially given how he says he makes decisions.
Right. So we know that President Trump listens to himself. He does rely on the members of his cabinet, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo being one of those voices that is a really integral player when it comes to the decisions that Trump makes. But ultimately, it is the president who makes these decisions, and he doesn't necessarily feel the need, our reporting shows, to have a new person added to that team. He's considering it, but there are other options on the table. And he wants someone who's close to him and who sees things through his lens. That obviously was not the case with National Security Advisor John Bolton, and that's why he was let go.